picks and bans, boys. Let's get into it.
You guys are the analysts. You analyze what's going to happen. I'm just here to read off. Oh, it's a Rise ban. There we go. I can start us off.
Who could have expected that against G2? Of course, they love that Rise picks, flexing it all over the board and using that to great success to find some insane late game plays.
So things like the Sylas, Irelia, maybe even Akali will look to be banned away. Remember that she did receive some pretty significant nerfs, but when going up against the likes of Caps, maybe you need to take that ban into consideration.
Is Pyke ever on the ban list when you're playing up against G2? Is it something you might throw out there?
I mean, it's something you definitely think about. I'm not sure if you necessarily need to ban it because there's so many other really high priority power picks. And also when I think about a team like G2, it's a team that sees a Pyke pick. They see that when G2 brings down, they're like, okay, we're going to come up with some more insane counter to go against that. That's what this team is good at.
I'm very excited to see what can happen. Sylas being taken off the board. Priority likely to be a jungler, are we thinking? Maybe the Jarvan, maybe even the Rek'Sai for Cold, something that he did play a lot of towards the end of last split. These could be very high priority picks.
I'm wondering if Draven might see action here, because we saw it banned against G2 yesterday. We've seen it banned quite a few times, and it's got through this first rotation.
Now, this is the Sejuani for Cold that they played yesterday, and that's something that they paired up alongside the Camille in the mid lane. We know how well Sejuani works with melee champions, and you can use that Sejuani Camille combo to have really heavy 2v2 threat around that mid lane.
Well, I think that G2 may be looking for a strong bot lane right now. Xayah Rakan wouldn't really surprise me. Something that they prioritized a lot in the finals of MSI. And oh look, Jankos hovering the Jarvan, something that he is extremely confident on, very strong in the early game, can make a lot of early stuff happen. I'm already thinking of those level 2 plays.
Yeah, and Jankos really bullied out Xerxes in their game yesterday, early on, up in his face, invading him very hard. So he came back after MSI, and I think he's actually at the peak of his game right now. He is by far and away the best jungler in Europe, and on a champion like Jarvan, he can really lay down the hurt on Origen.
We'll see what Jankos can do in the early game. Origen here looking perhaps to steal away the Rakan. We don't see this too often. Rakan actually not the strongest support when you take him away from Xayah, but it means that Perkz and Mickey do not get that incredibly powerful bot lane duo.
I wonder if then they'll pair it up with something like the Sivir. We did see that yesterday. Kai'Sa has kind of fallen off in priority. We've seen around the world a lot of the Manamune, Muramana Kai'Sas, but here in Europe it's not really been a thing. They usually go much more towards things like the Ezreal. So Patrick gonna go for more of the defensive option. But that's not to say that Ezreal can't do damage with the AP build that we've been seeing from him, and like we saw from Crown Shot earlier in the
Yeah, he definitely does a lot of damage later on into the game, but that does indicate to me at least that OG are looking to focus more maybe on the mid lane or top lane positions. Get Patrick on something a little bit more self-sufficient, whereas, you know, when you have something like a Xayah and you maybe pair it up alongside a Morgana, which we know is a very solid counter pick into the Rakan, Jankos could very well look to play through that bottom lane.
Okay, I just want to lay this out there. Morgana, Xayah, I've seen funnel comps with a very similar starting 3 champions here. Is this a possibility at all?
I don't think it's possible to funnel here if you're trying to put Xayah into the funnel. Xayah plus Rakan was pretty necessary, I think, to make that funnel work out. So I'd be very surprised if G2 went that route.
There is the option of flexing the Morgana into mid lane, but I also know that G2 love to answer Rakan with Morgana support.
Yep.
So I think it's something that they demonstrated at MSI as well. They often did Draven Morgana as the usual go-to answer, but because they already prioritized Xayah, they're now put into this situation. Meanwhile, we're now seeing a shift over towards topside bans. I love that we're seeing the respect going towards the Nico from the side of Origen, that champion that can still be flexed into multiple positions, and G2 actually taking the Renekton away, maybe even the Rumble if they consider it to be a safe blind.
And it looks like both teams still looking for their top laner and their mid laner. Of course, the Jarvan could be flexed around, and that Morgana has a possibility of flex, as we say. There's the Camille ban against Nuke Duck. We saw that Sedge Camille combo work out yesterday for Origen, and we'll see what Origen go for their final ban.
Yeah, so now looking at this for G2, I think they should probably be trying to find a safe blind pickable top laner here for Wunder, keeping in mind that in theory this Morgana still is flexible. The idea here for them, I think, is to make sure Caps has counterpick up against Nuke Duck. I think you can rely on Wunder much more to win top lane regardless of matchup, whereas Caps is maybe a little bit more locked into specific matchup against Nuke.
How do you feel about something like Jace here? Very strong, pretty good in that blind pick position in the top lane as well, and can be flex mid if really needed.
I think the Jace could be good. good here. They are indexing a little bit heavy into physical damage, so they need to make up with AP somewhere else. They're not going to need to, though, because they have the Vlad.
Well, I think that it's also a very strong flex pick. Remember that you can move it to both mid and top lane. If this gives G2 a lot of options as well. There's always the potential that they haven't even locked in their jungler yet, and the Jarvan is in the top lane, the Vladimir is in the mid. Something that G2 have always been known for is their flexibility. Love the cheeky hover of the Zed to remind them of the last time they met during the regular season when Nuke got that solo kill. But you already talked about the Jace medic. This is going to be the blind pick for Origen. Expectations are that that's going to go up towards the top side of the map. They're fine playing the Jace into the Vladimir, especially seeing as in the early game, you're going to have a lot of power as well.
And now we'll see what Origen round out their composition with. They have a lot of CC. They've got some follow-up with the Rakan as well. Jace and Ezreal have a lot of damage, and gives you a bit of mixed damage as well, because the Ezreal can go down that AP route.
No, don't
Finally,
it
looks like it's going to be the Kennen. And Vedius, you are not too happy about that.
It's Pike.
It's Syndra.
Oh, okay. Averted. Crisis averted. Whenever I see Kennen, I'm thinking, oh no, it's flashbacks of the finals. Pike, apparently, according to Wonder, is a really good matchup. I don't really understand why, but it is. And so I thought that we may see it there and then put the Vladimir into the middle lane. But no, we're going to have Caps' Syndra. He's going to be playing up against the Jace. I feel like that in terms of the 1v1, it's a pretty neutral one. Usually because you go for the early Hex Drinker, you're not going to have that much kill pressure up against the Jace, but you do have that stun setup with the Syndra. So with a Jarvan, I think there's a lot of 2v2 power that you have to play around the mid lane.
Yeah, definitely in the 2v2. I think even in the 1v1, Cap should be pretty comfortable on this Syndra. He outranges that Jace with consistent DPS. Of course, outside of Jace's EQ poke, Syndra should have the upper hand in that one.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that mid lane. Always very explosive games when G2 are involved. We saw yesterday as well, Origen actually showing that they can be that team that accelerates an early lead very quickly into a victory. Big hugs between the two coaches as they head off the stage, and I'm sure the teams will be wanting to give each other a little bit more than hugs on Summoner's Rift.
Well, we shall certainly see as we're jumping into the Rift relatively soon. When I look at Origen's comp, I think that they actually have strong poke tools with both the Jace and the Ezreal, but they also have strong team fighting with the engage coming out from Rakan, Sejuani, and the follow-up from the Kennen and Ezreal. I feel like they're actually in a pretty good position to go for both 5v5 and play the side lanes if they do get outscaled a little bit on those sides because of the Vlad.
We'll keep our eyes on it. G2 on the other side trying to challenge as much as possible. Well, let's jump on to Summoner's Rift, and as our pro view users might have spotted, Perks has already put G2esports.com/shop in all chats.
Can you buy us MSI trophies there?
Ocelot's try.
All right, so we're jumping on to the Rift. Unsurprisingly, G2 always looking to have a little bit of fun whenever they jump onto the Rift. Meanwhile, Origen, the very calm, cool, calculated, very serious team. The last time these two teams did meet up, it was in the finals of our spring split, and it was the fastest finals that we've ever had in Europe. I believe it was 73, 74 minutes, incredibly quick. Game 3, Origen lost in 18 minutes, and one of the big things that Cold said coming into the split was that they want to be contenders for the title. They want to be able to challenge G2, and a big performance here could set them up nicely for the rest of the split.
Yeah, and I think challenging G2 starts very early on into the game, and specifically for a player like Cold, tracking and stopping Jankos from having a really big impact on the map, especially when Jankos is on a champion here, like the Jarvan that we can see move around and look for these early plays. Cold has to do what he does best, and that's track the enemy jungler and, again, inform his lanes as to his movements.
And Origen actually have already invested a lot into vision control in the river. You can see 3 wards down, 2 in that top river, 1 down towards that bottom side to try and keep eyes on where Jankos might be looking. Of course, Jarvan level 2 ganks can be very powerful, and his ability to jump over walls means that he can get into your jungle and steal away your buffs without you sometimes realizing.
So it looks like Jankos going from red to blue, going to convert that into the Gromp as well. Looks like no very early stuff going to be happening. But as you rightly said, a lot of early vision investment across the river from the side of Origen to get a little bit of extra information to see if Jankos does try any sneaky level 2 plays.
And if I'm looking at Jankos' pathing right now, I wonder if he wants to try and contest Cold in that top river for Scuttle Crab. At 3 minutes and 15 seconds, when it spawns again, he will be pathing up towards that side, and it's a route that Cold maybe might not expect, because when you see Jankos starting on the red buff and then pathing down, he should by all means be going for that bot side scuttle, but his pathing may not be that way.
Cold clearing out the wolves, actually going to blast going down towards this bottom side scuttle, it seems. Maybe trying to look for a little bit of a play down towards this bot side jungle.
Yeah, I actually like this maybe a little bit more. Maybe if he actually spots out that the Krugs have not been taken, he goes down and gets that himself. Instead, it will be that play moving up towards the top side of the map.
Meanwhile, in the middle lane, we can see a lot of pressure being built up in favor of Caps. We already talked about it in the draft, how Syndra has this range advantage over the Jace. So in the early laning phase, Caps is feeling confident in how he plays. And notice as well where the wards are. He's got one just above him, and he's also got one by the Raptors. So he has more than enough information on where Cold could come from. This allows him to play up very far forward in the lane without necessarily having the consistent support from his jungler. Vision saves lives, kids.
It does, it definitely does. Alfari actually up in the top side is having pretty good time pushing Wonder down underneath this tower. It's expected with the cannon early on, but he's already about 10 CS up.
Yeah, and that's definitely what you're going to be getting with this matchup up here. Interestingly, Wonder went for the Ruby Crystal start, so a little bit less in terms of defensive tools for the lane as opposed to something like a Dorian Shield, but what it does mean is he gets into a faster Kindle Gem. Rushing CDR on Vladimir is very valuable, so you can spam out your Q in lane, and especially against something like a Cannon, it means you can sustain up a little bit more.
So Jankos was starting to channel his back. Cold's been spotted on a ward. They're going for that 2v2. You talked about how powerful the Jarvan Syndra are.
Well.
Oh, 3v2. Teleport comes in straight away. And now Cold is spotted out. Jankos there already. Perks trying to get the catch onto Cold here. Cold dodging around as much as he can. The root still lands. The flash from Perks. The chase potential. And G2 strike first.
This is a G2 move if I have ever seen one. Who expects to have an AD carry at level 3 flank teleport you?
It just ends up behind him. It's nothing personal.
That's crazy. Awesome stuff from the side of Jisoo. Love the way that they set that one up. They find themselves first blood onto Colds.
Perks getting that kill as well means he has well, he already had double longsword because he got back, but he will have some gold in his pocket. Something about 500 now, just lets him scale even quicker on this Xayah. And G2 in a strong starting position, but Perks burn his flash and his teleport to make that play. Can Origen do something with that knowledge, with those summoner spells down?
Honestly, probably not. It's really difficult to gank.
Oh, Nuke lane going very aggressive here. Has to flash away, but Jankos with the flash chase, the knockback. Cold on his way as well. Caps is very low mana. Jankos takes up tower shot. The shock blast doesn't connect, but Jankos gonna get stunned up. Cold comes back, claps back, and Jankos will fall.
Big misplay there from Jankos. He could have used the flash to extend the EQ for the knockup, but he doesn't respect the response there coming out of Nuke Duck. Cold, on the other hand, was waiting in the wings and able to punish.
I can only assume that he believed that Nuke Duck would be stunned for long enough for the knockup to come through from his EQ combo. So he flashes underneath the tower. He thinks he has the damage to get the kill, but it ends up being a turnaround from Origen, and they're answering back. They're actually sitting with the gold lead right now, largely because of the top lane advantage. But again, here we see that ward spotting out Cold, and then the teleport from the base AD carry of Perks sets up for the play.
Yeah, it's just so nicely done right here. Cold doesn't expect anything. And then watch Perks' flash as well. He gets right in front of Cole's Arctic Assault, so he can't even run away. It's just absolutely brutal.
Really well played that by Perks. He also picks himself up first blood and the blue buff, so his pressure in bot lane is going to mount even more. But thanks to the answer in mid, it relieves some of the pressure. Nuke Duck is actually even in farm. And notice how in the top lane, Alfari is dominating Wonder in this 1v1, really utilizing the strengths of Cannon in this early game.
Yeah, and he's going for the Bilgewater Cutlass as well, probably going into the Gunblade build, a little bit more focused on lane domination. Speaking of itemization, I actually think Caps' build is pretty interesting here. He rushes the Sork Shoes for that early magic penetration and has the Fairy Charm for that mana sustain. So it is very much about dominating the lane right at this level 6 mark.
I also think the extra mobility that having tier 2 Poots gives early on is extremely valuable as well. So I like it a lot.
Alfari has spotted Jankos out here as the control ward is down. Alfari actually has quite a sizable gold lead. You can see Origen about 800 gold ahead across the board, and Alfari, because he's running that Klepto, is all of that gold lead here for Origen. He's 800 ahead of Wonder, and you can see Jankos actually just having to help Wonder a little bit, get the lane pushed out, and relieve some of the pressure that the G2 top laner is under.
Alfari, though, even in a 1 versus 2, is still trying to bully out Wonder. Love the aggression coming out from Alfari. He had a lot of information as to where Jankos was playing in the early game, and he's utilized that very, very effectively. I think the sustain from the build order also helps a lot when playing up against a Vladimir, and you can consistently go out for a lot of these trades. So good stuff from Alfari.
Yep.
So one interesting thing to look at here for Cold, he's about to hit level 6 after picking up this red buff, and this is probably his best opportunity to find a gank around this bottom lane. It's been a while since Perkz has gone back to base. He is just sitting on those Berserker Greaves plus long swords, and they get the Black Shield. That's key.
Cold starts to path down towards here. You can assume the communication was made, the Black Shield is now down.
Yeah, I was watching bot lane. Black Shield was burnt. Cold has an opportunity.
Perkz stares straight into the eyes of death, then Cold will lock him up with a Glacial Prison. The True Shot Rush comes out, and there's the kill. Now G2 trying to react. It's a 3v3 for the moment, but Nukeduck's on its way down. The knockup's going to land from Mithy, but Cold very low, already taken out. Mithy jumping around as much as he can, isn't yet level 6, doesn't have the quickness. Nukeduck now coming in from the side.
Double flashes. Caps goes in for the double kill right there, too. G2 counter and come out on top.
Beautiful stuff from the side of G2. They look for the answer and they make it work out in their favor. Still behind in gold, but ahead in kills. G2 Esports always happy to answer aggression with more aggression.
Great stuff all around from G2, just a little bit quicker reacting to that play down towards the bottom side. Nukeduck came in a bit late, wasn't really able to influence the fight at all. But Origen are 1,000 gold up. G2 going to get an Ocean Dragon off the back of that fight happening, and they'll be able to eke their way into this game just that little bit more.
Sword is hanging around. Ooh, they've also found Caps. No flash.
Out. Black Shield isn't going to help him. Nukeduck gets the kill. 300 gold going into his back pocket, and now Mickey does have the flash. Will look to jump onto the blast cone here and then use that to get away even further from Origen, but Origen can push forward, maybe even try and steal away this blue buff and the Gromp.
So I love the Origen is still being proactive on the map. In this early game, they're consistently looking for plays. They found a good punish towards the bot side of the map, but obviously G2 found a good react. But every time something starts to look good for G2, Origen find these small picks. They get them back in once again.
Uh-oh, Perkz is looking like he's in trouble. 2 members of Origen waiting over here, maybe trying to steal away the blue buff, and Mickey is on his way to try and help his AD carry. It looks like he's going to be okay.
He's got ult, he's got flash. I'm not too concerned right now for Perkz.
It's very easy to say that after they've decided not to.
I'm just saying, I looked at that situation, I'm like, you know what, if I'm Perkz, I'm feeling pretty happy right now. So let's have a look back. Whose pro view are we going to get?
It's Caps.
It's Caps. Of course it's Caps. So they already started making their way down towards the bot side of the map. Perkz does what he can, but he's not level 6 yet, so he doesn't have his ulti. Then the good route into the stun keeps Cold Chain CC'd for an extremely long time. And the moment Caps gets that red buff, they know they can continue the chase. Jarvan still has the ultimate. They force the double flash. And Rakan, still very squishy in this early game, means that they can secure that kill afterwards. We're not going to see the 1v1 where he dies.
Oh, this is actually a bit dangerous from Perkz because the quickness is still available for Mithy, but Mithy needs to get out of there. He goes golden. The Soul Shackle's going to lock up Patrick is here as well. The charm comes out from Mithy, but Perkz just needs one more auto, and now Patrick is in for a world of hurt. And Mickey's
Wait a second, Mickey!
You call yourself the best bot lane. You're not even better than Battle Academia, Ezreal.
Beautiful stuff there. Cold now hanging around the bot side of the map, looking to see if he can punish Perkz. No flash, no ultimate.
Wasn't the most impactful line I've ever done. The Glacial Prison comes out, Perkz goes golden for the moment, but the teleport coming in here from Origen. You can see Jankos is like, mate, you're on your own, son, you're done. Cold gets his second kill of the game.
And OG are the ones that continue to come out on top. They're currently 5-4 in the kills. They have a 1.5k gold advantage. The top lane is going even further and further ahead of Alfari. Now Jankos could be in a bit of trouble.
Well, Jankos caught out just a little bit. Mithy here as well, but doesn't have the quickness, nor has he got his flash, so would be a little bit dangerous for him to do something in that play.
Thing I think I'm most impressed about by Origen is how quickly they're playing this game. They're matching the tempo of G2, even after plays go horribly wrong. You know, that bottom lane where Caps got the double, they're still on the offensive.
Nukeduck trying to be aggressive towards Caps here. Nice stun, as you say, the scat of the week knocking Nukeduck back. Mithy caught out, knocked airborne. The Guardian's going to keep him alive for a moment, but Jankos will get the kill, and Jankos flashes out as well. Origen maybe trying to up the tempo themselves, but G2 live in this world. Chaos is their friend, and that's why they take down that kill.
Yeah, but I love the Origin of matching this aggression, because one of the things that we said about OG last split was that they're much more of the controlled, patient. They wait for the 90% play, but you know what? They're taking these gambles. They're going for these risks, and in terms of the kills, they're staying even, but the gold gap is starting to close. Even though a huge lead is being built up by Alfari on the top side of the map, G2 are still the ones coming out on top.
Patrick's in so much trouble, no arcane shift.
Patrick dodged away from the roof, but he's just locked down. The teleport taking the tower aggro. Mickey very low here. Slicing Natural comes in from Alfari. Mickey uses his stopwatch to stop time for the moment, but here comes Mithy. Support on support action as the kill goes down. Wonder now with the Sanguine Pool trying to get away, but Mithy does have the charm. Won't land it onto either Wonder or Perks, but they do have to burn an ult and a flash to get away.
OG really trying to push for more right there. Cold still holding on to his ultimate, but just a little bit too far to make that play happen. OG answer back against the tower dive on Patrick.
For one overall, the kills continue.
It's 12 minutes, it's 12 kills, Benny. The great start is 13 kills. Mithy gets 2 in quick succession.
Oh, now they have their eyes set on the dive towards the bot lane tower. Wonder, he has a lot of HP. He also has his ultimate available. They're not going to run the risk right now.
I want something of what Origin are having, because this off-season, they've upped their tempo, they play more like G2. I want to see how they progress this, but at the moment, they look incredibly strong.
But the problem is they need to convert this into a win. They need to build this into a substantial lead, and G2 is not allowing them to do that, because every play that happens from one side, there is an answer from the other. Both these teams are battling with everything they've got, only in week 1 of the split.
Yeah, that being said, it is still a 1,500 gold lead here for Origin, so they are in a comfortable position at this moment. They're also working on, their second items for Patrick, for Alfari, for Nukeduck as well. And once they get around to those points, I think they're going to be a lot more comfortable with their position in this game.
They definitely are. Alfari does have a 20 CS lead in this lane. It's the Hextech Gunblade build that we talked about. He's now building into some AP, so expect to see him use more in team fights than anything else. Mithy almost gets caught up with the EQ combo out from Jankos, but unable to find that connection. Jankos just has to back away. Perks is pushing in top lane as G2 now have switched their focus from the bottom side of the map up towards the top.
I do find it quite funny that both top laners have just kind of been 1v1ing and looking at the chaos that has been going on around them as another fight kicks off.
Yeah, Blackshot Mithy went very aggressive, all on his lonesome. The shutdown goes across towards Mickey. Caps to use the ult, but that was very aggro from Mithy.
Yeah, I don't know about that one for Mithy there. That was a little bit bold. Yeah, Mickey was in the fog of war, but still, that was just, it was like a harassment play from the Rakan. You weren't going to get much off that.
Well, I think they didn't actually have vision on the Mickey who was behind them, so he believed that he was catching Jankos off guard after he was trying to set up a flank. So given that they were in a better position to collapse, they looked for the play, but it was too dark behind him. He took a risk, and it didn't pay off. So Mithy ends up losing his life, and G2 will secure themselves the Rift Tile, and finally, they will secure themselves the gold lead.
Yeah, about 400 gold ahead. Nothing too monumental as of yet. Cold did get an Infernal Dragon while that was happening, so he was able to make a play on the other side of the map. And Origin will take their first tower of the game as well down towards this bottom lane to equalize that gold disadvantage.
Yeah, Cold's presence down there around the cannon made that a very easy pickup for them. We'll see this one more time. Again, it's just a small glance at Jankos. He wants to go in, but ultimately, this was, again, never going to be a kill. I still think it was a very over-aggressive play for Mithy that if he got a chance to take it back, he definitely would.
I think, again, if the Morgana wasn't there, then he probably gets out. But he, as you already said,
you get out, you don't actually get anything out of it anyway.
Sure, but he might be able to keep the vision in his half of the map control,
that is true.
right? So like,
Ward save live, as you say.
I can understand why he would do it. I just think that overall the play was just too risky because he didn't have enough information. So he ends up getting punished for it. Cold does secure the blue buff. And we haven't really had time to talk about like win conditions or comps because of how much action has been going on. 15 minutes in, the gold is dead even, the kills are even, towers are even. The only advantage that G2 currently sits on is the fact that they have the Rift held and they're setting up to use it around the mid lane.
They do have an Ocean Drake in their back pocket as well, but Origin answered with an Infernal of their own. Now, Nukeduck caught out a little bit. Jankos pushing forward here. Mithy and Cold are down towards the bottom side as they have vision control down here. And neither team willing to take that fight completely. With Rift Hell being used mid, though, Origin might try to step up to defend.
There you go.
Instant cleanse. The QSS. Oh, the cleanse, sorry, right in the right time. Rift Hell will charge in. That's going to die before it takes down the tower. And Origin able to hem back G2 for the moment.
Meanwhile, Perks on split push duty, something that he often likes to do. Sitting in a side lane, he's been the one that's been picking up a lot of the turret plates, and he's been just slowly soaking up farmers. Wonder now caught out.
Mithy going in with a quickness, but Wonder should be able to get away for the moment. Goes in with the Sanguine Pool, the Ignite taking away the last Mystic shot just off towards the side. And Patrick and Mythy trying to make those catches happen. Can't quite find the final connection.
So now that we've seen a couple spells burnt in the mid lane, we probably don't expect an engage to happen. I think it is worth, right as I say that, Mythy gets away. I think it's worth bringing up what are these teams trying to accomplish, especially once we get to this point where we may see more team fights. I think both comps actually are very structured for the 5 versus 5. I would actually give G2 an advantage though. I think that their comp is much less reliant on large cooldowns like flashes to execute. Jarvan can go in relatively easily. They have some long-range CC tools like the Syndra, whereas on the other hand, Origen are a little bit more reliant on Alfari having his flash to actually start off these fights.
I also think that just Morgana, Jarvan, Vladimir are easier to execute teamfight champions. They all press their R buttons, and ideally they're all in the same place when you press those R buttons so that you have a lot of area of effect damage. And then it's very easy for champions like Syndra and Xayah to clean up these fights. Whereas I think OG's teamfight comp is just a little harder to execute. That's not to say that it doesn't have strengths in its own merit. They have strong engage, strong pick tools, and potentially a lot of AoE damage. But through a Black Shield, with the pool, with the Xayah ultimate, I feel like that it's a lot harder for OG to lock down a target and necessarily find those crucial kills in those fights.
Yeah, I think the best chance for Origen in these fights is to start them out not going for a full commit, but using Jace and the Ezreal to maybe poke just a little bit more.
As the game slows down just a tad, let's have a look at where we are in terms of items. Essence Reaver and Rapid Fire Cannon complete on perks. Patrick just upgraded his Mana Mune, and he's got the Iceborne Gauntlet in his inventory as well. Topside, Morello Nomicon we expect on its way for Alfari with the Oblivion Orb there. It's Wonder has already finished his Proto Belt. Everyone's sitting at like 1.5 items apart from the AD carries. Now G2, with a 5-man push mid, should be able to secure this tower pretty easily as Origen was spread across the rest of the map.
Oh, we're only 18.5 minutes in, and like we're already approaching that kind of state in the game where a lot of fights start to happen. A lot of teams usually have very large leads at this point in the game, and they often snowball off the back of those leads. And to be fair to G2, they were at a pretty big disadvantage early on in the game, and they've managed to crawl their way back, and now they sit with a very slight gold lead. The players that I'm keeping my eyes on are Caps and Perks. They're both level 12, they both got a lot of strong items. Caps trying to get collapsed.
Sidestep still has the flash here as well, the flash chase from Cold. They just wanted to get that second summoner out from Caps.
They knew they had a few more seconds before Caps' cleanse was going to be up, so they threw everything into a play around that middle lane right. There was a good attempt, but the ult does end up whiffing, and will just be that flash trade, which could pay off in the next 5 minutes if they can find another move on towards him.
Now, Perks has just gone back to base, and he does have the teleport as well. The dragon is just about to spawn, and you would imagine that this is the next main objective. G2 are committing everything to gain mid priority, so they can move through the river and look to gain control.
As we walk into this river and this dragon, though, look at how far he's not showing in the bottom lane, but he is standing at...
Patrick caught out. The unleashed power would be enough to take him down. He manages to get in the bush, but Perks secures the kill. Mythy dumped on the Cataclysm to the face. It's a double for Perks, and G2 find the perfect fight.
It was like a game of chicken. Both teams were just looking at each other, waiting for that slight misstep or that crucial skill shot to land, and it was Caps that finds that stun, Mickey that finds that binding, that allows G2 to find that pick. Converted into 2 kills, and now they're on the drink.
Yeah, Origen were really banking on G2 to walk towards the dragon immediately. Then they could use the cannon in that flank position, but instead G2 just ran at them, so it was effectively a 5v4.
Let's have a look at what Perks saw.
We're going to keep our eyes, as you said, on Perks. There you see the binding does land from Mickey. And look at the aggression coming out from Perks. He knows the follow-up is going to be there right behind him. He knows that he can dive in even without vision because he has his ultimate available as well. And he finds himself 2 quick kills. And we were already talking about Caps and Perks being those primary carries that we wanted to keep our eyes on. And now this man is already sitting at 5 kills. He's going to be the damage dealer as these fights come up and challenge that idea that he can't play conventional AD carry.
Yeah, and as long as Caps and Perks survive in these team fights, they should be very good for G2. That's why I like Mickey's itemization. He goes for Mikhail's Crucible to avoid the engage from someone like Cold or Mythy coming in towards their team. Even if Caps does have the cleanse, having a little extra won't hurt.
So we said our eyes are on Perks and Caps from the side of G2, but what are Origen looking to do, and where are we focusing if we are Origen fans? What is their intention in the next portion of the game?
Well, they're kind of relying on Alfari, and Ender talks a little bit about it. Like, he does have the flash available, and that's going to be very crucial in being able to dive onto the backline and get all this AoE off. But also, as Ender was saying, I think OG are relying a lot more on their Perks poke before setting up for these fights, because they have the Ezreal, they have the Jace, and they just kind of want to chip away at G2 before hard committing onto a fight.
Let's see if they can do that with the Baron up now. G2 are setting up vision around it. This game has gone a mile a minute, 16 kills in only 21 minutes of gameplay. Yesterday, both games these teams played were looking like they were going to end pretty soon, but today, still pretty neck and neck. About a 2,000 gold lead for G2. They seem to be in control, but Origen have shown us they can turn that around pretty rapidly.
Yeah, they can turn it around fast, and it's because these teams just continue to fight, throw themselves at each other. But right now, if you look at the warding on the map sheet, Cap's in trouble, but he has the Black Shield and the Mikhails to get out safety. He holds on to his own cleanse.
Oh, he's pushed Mithy back, but Mithy goes in with the chase. The quickness gets through the cleanse and Caps is dead. Mickey now forced underneath the tower, has to flash away because Patrick was landing that mystic shot if Mickey hadn't dodged.
Now, Wonder is sitting in bot lane. OG have priority in mid. In an ideal world, they'd love to threaten the Baron, but their side lanes are collapsing right now. Perks, again, off on a side, trying to generate pressure. Already level 14, and OG, they can't really convert it into anything, so... Sure, yes, they get that kill onto Caps, but because it doesn't result in any objectives, and G2 push all those waves into the tower, I feel like G2 is still very happy with the situation that they're in.
Yeah, I think the problem for Origen really comes between these 280 carries, because on one hand, as you had Perks level 14 with 3 completed items, including that Infinity Edge, Patrick is only level 12, and this is because Perks has gotten so many resources being funneled into him as he walks into side lanes and picks up CS.
Mithy continues to jump forward very aggressively in some of these situations, relying on the fact that G2 don't have any deep vision, meaning they're not quite sure where the rest of the Origen lineup are. But as you say, because Origen had to react to those waves pushing in, they didn't even really manage to get any Baron vision control. It's still very much in G2's favor.
I think it's really worth highlighting the growth that we're clearly seeing from Origen. The first thing is they've survived longer than 18 minutes, which is always a great...
Good job, good job.
But on top of that, you already said it, Endo, we talked a little bit about it early on in the game, which is that Origen have been matching a lot of the aggression that G2 have set up for themselves. The really challenging part about playing against G2, though, is their mid-game decision-making, how they set up the map, how they control vision. And Origen right now are kind of being dragged around the map, and I'm curious as to how they answer G2 right now. Being at this kind of deficit, like, they know that the Baron is going to be a big point of contention, and they need to be able to fight it.
Mithy trying to dodge away, but he's put into the Cataclysm. There's no teammate to jump to. G2 use their vision control to pull Mithy out of position.
And now they're just instantly going to run back into the river and go towards this Baron. Again, they can use Morgana and Cinder to turn and burn off of this Baron the second Cold and the rest of OG walk up.
No Unleashed power available for Caps, but that Baron very low already, you have to feel. 6,000 HP, Nukeduck's actually fought against Wonder off towards the side here. Hemoplay comes down, Patrick there with the chase as well. The Sanguine Pool used, Patrick trying to get the damage down if he can. Yanko's on the flank, Patrick still has Flash, and those Mystic shots are chunking away at G2. G2 will have to turn away from this one, and Mithy is back alive.
Yeah, that's important for Origen. They thwart the Baron attempt and don't lose any members. They don't even lose a summoner spell right there, and they're just going to use some scouting there to make sure G2 didn't turn back.
I actually love the decision-making from Origen in that moment, because what you'll notice is when we bring up the replay, there are pings coming down onto the Vladimir, and all of OG immediately say, hey, we've got to turn, because I don't think they want to finish that Baron. I think they want to collapse. So they immediately focus the Vladimir and then look to disengage rather than commit for the objective. That means that G2 only walk away with a kill onto Mithy, and they don't convert it into a Baron. So quick thinking there from Origen gets them out of what could have been a dire and game loss situation.
Yeah, Origen are also using this time to put down some deep vision. That has been how they've been caught out a few times before, not knowing that multiple members of G2 are on their way. So they will control more of this river, which should make it a little bit easier to fight and control this mid lane.
I also really like having all of your team trying to protect Alfaro as he takes that top lane tower. We talked earlier about how lanes pushing in were in favor of G2 in a lot of situations. Getting those outer towers helps your lanes push towards the enemy just that little bit more, meaning that Origen can start some slow pushes and force G2 to react.
So this is really interesting by G2. We're 26 minutes into the game, and it is still Perks being sent to the bottom lane to pick up CS. And this, of course, is, yes, because he has the teleport, but also he's a level 15 Zayed. He's matched with the highest level in the game. It's so huge.
2v2. Glacial Prism lands onto Wonder, but he's still got the Sanguine Pool. The Cataclysm comes out and it locks him in the Slicing Maelstrom. Yanko sliced up to Sashimi, and Wonder healing up so much.
Perks goes in!
Going in with the flash. Featherstorm comes out. He puts the cold. He takes him down. And
Here
he's
comes
on the
Caps.
chase. Here's Caps from the side. Mithy trying to do what he can. The knockup still connects. He jumps back. Great stuff from Mithy to keep his AD carry alive.
Perks absolutely popping off, flashing forward in that fight right there. It ends up being a 3-for-2 in favor of G2. Great stuff.
Hello, this is Patrick. Patrick!
And that was a pop-off play. Beautiful stuff from the AD carry from Origen. What confidence you've got to have to dive over a wall into 3 G2 members and say, you know what, Caps? Yeah, I think I can kill you. And then flashes back
That guy
out.
just won the MSI finals, and you're flashing out away from him after jumping forward. That was insane from Patrick.
Now, it's only a small reprieve as G2 continue to control the map. They're the ones that have full vision control. They're the ones with a 3k gold lead. And we're kind of at the point where Wonder in the side lane is so much stronger than the Cannon is now. All these big items are coming through. G2 are still a very scary foe. The Origen have to find a way of answering.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one to answer, but at least Origen, I think, now have a clear direction they need to go, and that is Perk, sitting at 7-2-1 now on this Xayah. He's absolutely massive, finishing off his 4th item now, and because he doesn't have his flash, coming into this next fight, it gives Origen an opportunity, if they can find a flank with the cannon, if they can find that burst to knock him down.
So both teams saw the same play, Jankos and Wonder plus Alfari and Cole, but the TP comes in earlier from the side of G2. So the moment Pokes arrives, there's actually very little that he can do. All he ends up doing is flashing at the end of that, allowing Perks to just clean up that kill. He is untouched on the back line, ends up being a 2 for 3 initially, and you think at this point, okay, both teams just disengage, not that big of a deal, but Patrick, he has it in his eyes. Okay, I know where Caps is, I know he's on about 50% HP, I just hit a Q.
Got no vision.
He's got no vision, but then he's like, you know what, I can go for this. Boom, EWQ, walks away.
Baron having started here by G2. They're going for the fight. Mithy very low on the backline. Jankos goes in with the Cataclysm. Now Wonder stepping forward as well. G2 going to reset this fight. Mithy very low, but he hasn't burned the flash or the quickness, so he does have that team fight ultimate.
Yeah, Mithy has to go back to base, but Jankos is relatively low as well. He also lost his flash in that engage. The next one from G2 should be a little bit more difficult. Still, they're walking over towards the Baron. Mithy didn't actually go back.
Mithy did not get to base. Cold here. He's on half HP. There's a true shot barrage, but G2 just starting it up and then resetting. Jankos down to very low HP here, actually down to less than half. But as you say, we talked about how Origen want team fights, but they need to poke out first, and that's what's happening for them right now.
So the reason why G2 are not committing to the Baron is because they don't have confidence in their ability to clear it fast enough before OG can land this poke. And if you're taking all this poke while in the Baron pit, there's a real risk that you just end up dying before you can secure the objective. But G2 doing sneaky things. They started off the Baron without Origen knowing.
Patrick has the teleport. He's teleporting into this fight. Jankos down to half HP. Perks there. Pops his ultimate as Cole jumps out. Nukeduck forced off towards the top side of this fight. And you have to feel it's going to go down first. Patrick jumping forward though, trying to get the kills. He can't do enough damage, making flashes across the wall. And Patrick's found her. The Hemoplate tick, tick, boom. Double kill goes down to Caps. And G2 have come out totally on top. There's no escape. There's no one dying on G2. And everyone from Origen is falling to pieces.
G2 destroy Origen around the Baron. Wonder chases Mithy, the only remaining survivor from Origen, out of the field. G2 take the Baron, and they're going to get the inhibitor in mid lane as well.
Origen have put up a strong fight. They have challenged G2 at every opportunity, but in the end, it is G2 that come out on top once again. 8k is the gold lead. They secure the Baron. They'll walk away with the inhibitor. I don't think they can end it right now, but Origen, they're running out of options.
Yeah, it gets so scary now. G2 still have more than 3 minutes to work with this Baron buff, and they already took down that first inhibitor. They're going to go for full resets now to finish off their last items before what should be their final siege on the Origen base.
Perks is level 18. He is the highest level
4 levels
in
up
the game.
on Patrick.
He's 2 levels ahead of the enemy mid laner, mate. He's received so much solo farm. He's having an amazing game on the Xayah. Let's have a look back at how this play kicks off.
He's actually just frontlining instant Captain Jack QSS coming through from Perks right there to survive. Nukeduck thought he can burst him down, and then Patrick goes for the montage play. He goes over the wall with the arcane shift, but he just can't do enough against this G2 team.
And props to Mickey at the end of this fight, landing that binding and then sidestepping the flash play into another binding. Great Morgana mechanics there coming out from the G2 support. The bot lane definitely having a great game. G2 now on the Infernal. Can Origen answer?
Patrick jumping forward once again. Alfari down towards the bottom side. Alfari in position. He slices through them. Origin will not be stopped, but Alfari's down and Perks is still alive. Jankos frontlining now as Cold is forced away. It's on Patrick. It's all on the Ezreal to see if they can turn this fight back around in favor of Origin. They started it off well.
They must kill Perks, though he remains alive. Patrick and Nukeduck have to go
Oh,
off.
they get Wonder. Now they're looking for Perks.
Can he do it? He did it!
They gets it, and Origin will not go quietly into the night. They take the fight versus G2. Jankos is going to respawn, but Patrick is going to send him packing.
With their backs against the wall, Origin found their fight, and Patrick came up huge to take down G2.
Patrick is the shining star of Origin this game. Not only is he playing aggressively, but it feels like he is embracing the G2 style, and he is doing everything he can to carry his team to victory. G2, they looked convincing. They had the Baron. They were primed to end the game, but it is not over yet. OG still have some blood left in him.
I just want to say there's something special about this caster combo, because last time we had Fnatic versus G2 in the spring split, and now we will see how that fight went once again. This is brought to you by Alienware.
Yeah, look at this flank from Alfari. It's absolutely insane. He instantly kills Caps and the support from G2, but Perk stays alive. It looks like it's doomed for Origin, but OG used the range advantage they have with Patrick and Nukeduck to throw out their skill shots, burn down the front line, and get Perks low enough that one rotation from Patrick can take him down.
Oh, this is anime in the making. You look at Patrick, he's sitting there, he knows he's in the 1v5. He goes Super Saiyan and he finds the outplay onto G2. Beautiful stuff. Really, really awesome from the side of Origin, and they find the shutdown onto G2.
Patrick picked up 1,000 gold off killing Perks, and Perks still has a 700 gold bounty right now. So a lot of gold sitting in that AD carry if Origin can find the kill. Still 6,000 gold between the two teams. 33 minutes in, G2 still in the ascendancy, but Origin have shown us they are here to fight.
If you want to know why Perk still has a bounty on his head, it's because he still has a 4,500 gold lead over the next closest player in the game. That is Patrick. He is absolutely so far ahead right now on this Xayah that, again, if he stays alive in these fights, it should be wins. But OG have to use their skill shots, have to play so pristinely in order to knock him out.
And now, the levels are coming through from the side of Origin. They're slowly starting to close the gap. Remember, the longer the game goes, the less the gold value means, and they're just utilizing their poke to buy a little bit more time. G2 likely going to stall until the Baron before trying to end this game, unless they can land a good stun from Caps. Doesn't quite land.
Still a minute 20 on that mid lane inhibitor. Perks just
look at
pounding away on that inhib tower with the black shield. He's pretty well protected. Mithy will be looking for an engage position here. They don't have a control ward inside their own base, so they can't be sure that G2 have no vision. Wonder forced away in the mid lane, but Perks is pushing in top here, and you have to feel this is going to be the tower going down.
Yeah, Origin will be losing this tower right here. They must make a play or they risk losing even more, but Perks is just a walking god.
Just stepping into him. The Feather Storm. Patrick flashes away. Now Alfari trying to get in, but he's knocked back. He's scattered. The weak are dying here as Origin fall. G2 continue to push forward. Wonder will heal up with the Hemo Plague. They will take the inhibitor and maybe look for the game.
Perks is playing a frontline Xayah right now and absolutely tearing OG apart.
Unrelenting G2 continue to look for the kills. They'll take out Cold. The Nexus towers have to be on the menu, short to follow, you feel. Another kill on the fountain, and G2 are playing with their food. Nukeduck exhausted, Origin defeated. G2 are unstoppable, immortal, and they will reign victorious still here in the LECR. MSI champions, the world's champions, are back on the European stage.
It was a hard-fought victory for G2. This wasn't as one-sided as the finals was. Handshakes being given by the coaches, but again, what was so impressive was how Origin was matching a lot of the aggression in the early game up against G2. This feels like a different kind of Origin that we're seeing. Sure, there were a couple of small mistakes, Mithy trying to force a couple of plays, some of the fights not going the way that Origin would have liked, but definitely some positive improvements, very exciting to see, but it was not enough to shut down Perks, who honestly had one of the best games that we've seen this year.
Yeah, I think this was the best game of week 1 here in the LEC. Our #1 and #2 teams of the spring split. G2 obviously still on top, but Origen definitely did not come out quietly today. They came here to fight.
Origen maybe showing us that there is hope coming into the summer split here for the chasing pack. If they can improve this much, if we can see Fnatic winning games earlier on, if they continue to have their early game pressure, maybe G2 can be toppled, because at the moment, they look pretty indomitable.
I mean, huge shout out to Patrick. Like, he played really aggressive today, and to a degree, it was over-aggressive at times, but like, it felt like it was like a testing his limits today, you know, like, and what a team to test it against, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's week 1 as well.
Right, you know,
you can test your limits.
But
now.
I love the fact that it feels like we're seeing a very different Patrick, and when I spoke to Deficio, like, at the beginning of the year, he was very much about how you have to believe in this guy. He's going to be a top 3 AD carry. You've got to believe in him, and I feel like that the growth he's made from the beginning of Spring Split to now showcases the talent that he has and the room that's left to grow in this young player.
We'll have another look at how he played the final fight of that game. This replay is brought to you by Alienware, and what a fight it was, because Perks was frontlining the whole time.
Yeah, he just runs on in, burning the QSS for movement speed, I suppose, because he has the Black Shield on top of him. No one can come close to touching him. He's so strong at this point in the game that G2 just run over Origen inside their base.
The Bloodthirster shield on top of the Black Shield meant that you had to go through pretty much his whole health bar before you got to touch his whole health bar.
Yeah, he's tankier than Yankos, it seems like right now. He has more of those tiny lines in that HP bar, so brilliant stuff out of him. And the strategy of just putting him in a side lane and funneling those resources into him is something he's used to, and definitely played to perfection today.
It's one of those slight adaptations where the expectation is the mid laner needs to run the teleport, right? Then the mid laner goes off onto a side lane, but again, G2 defying convention, rewriting the playbook and saying, well, you know what, Caps, you can stay mid and wave clear with my support. I'll go be a side laner and I'll go take all the farm, and I'm pretty safe because, you know what, I have my ulti and I'm really, really fed.
Yeah, and this was actually a strategy I saw G2 doing a lot at MSI, where Perks was actually very far ahead of his opposing AD carries by picking up so many resources. So it's nice to see them bringing what worked there back to home soil.
It was a great game to watch. We are actually going to be joined by Caps and Yankos in the post-game lobby right after an interview with Perks. So we have a lot of G2 knowledge, a lot of awareness from them coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. It was an incredibly fun game, and if you guys want to get involved at home, you can vote for either Yankos, Caps, and Perks as your candidates for Kia Player of the Game. It's at LEC Esports on Twitter if you do want to get involved with that. Any thoughts before we toss over?
I mean, I got to give a shout out to Afar as well. Felt like he played the lane
honorable mention.
well. Yeah, honorable mention. I felt like his flash engages, the one that like almost swung the game back in favor of Origen, was fantastic. I really enjoyed watching it, and like I feel like we're seeing a lot more potential from this Origen lineup. I'm very excited to see where they go throughout the split. They obviously have very tough competition at the beginning of the split, but we'll see how they advance as we continue.
I just almost dropped my pen. For more insight about that game from Perks, we're going to talk to Law.